First, we want to thank our wonderful hosts, Best Buy, for generously hosting us again, and timely that we're on the interchange that MnDOT will be presenting about. So we've been working with Best Buy for coming up on 16 years now. They've been a leader in commuting programs and a great community partner with doing what they can to help reduce the single occupant trips that take place to reduce traffic congestion. And they have implemented many effective strategies aimed at encouraging their employees to do something other than drive alone. And we'd like to take a moment to recognize members of the 494 Corridor Commission Board of Directors that are here today, starting with our chair of the board, Eden Prairie City Council member Brad Aho. And also with us is Julie Wishnock from the City of Minnetonka. She's the Community Development Director. Also with us is Bloomington City Council member Jack Beloga, and Mark Nolan from the City of Edina. Thank you for joining us. And we also have several legislators with us. We have Minnesota State Representative Andrew Carlson and Senator Melissa Halverson Wickland. I don't believe she's arrived yet. As well as Representative Dario Anselmo and Hennepin County Commissioner Debbie Gattell. Later in the program, we'll be recognizing the legislators for their support and partnership. We just want to quick point out that the restrooms are out the doors on the side there. You'll go down just a couple steps, and it's not far. And I want to thank our staff from Commuter Services, Kate Meredith, our Director of Outreach, and Robin Nelson, our Marketing Manager, and Dave Van Haddam, our Special Projects Educator, and Nicole Day Diggins, as well as Mariah Jensen. I think they're at the check-in table, but thank you to our staff for all of your hard work and dedication, and just a pleasure to work with. And we'll be staffing our commuter fare table at the end of the program if there is anything that you hear that you would like more information about. And we also have our partners have tables, MnDOT, and a big delegation from the MnDOT West Metro and South Metro engineering program are here to answer all of your technical questions. And Metro Transit has a table next to MnDOT, followed by Southwest Transit and Enterprise rideshare program. So we invite you to visit them at the end of the program. And just a point in case we forget to mention it, after the award winners, after the program, if you would each come up so we could take a group photo of you, that would be fantastic. And so I'd like to introduce the chair of our board, Brad Aho from the City of Eden Prairie, City Council member. He's been chair for 8 years, and under his purview, we have successfully and thankfully worked with MnDOT to reconstruct the 494-169 interchange, and we've seen tremendous progress occur recently with the forthcoming reconstruction of the 35W 494 interchange. Thank you for your leadership on that and support of Commuter Services staff as well. So, Mr. Chair, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Melissa, and thank you all for attending today. We're really excited to see so many employers in this region take it upon themselves to come here because this is important. It affects your companies, it affects your employees, it affects our communities. So thank you for being a part of this. As 494 Corridor Commission members, we recognize that we have to do something more than just advocate for more transportation increases in our roads and bridges. And so we hired and staffed up with our commuter services staff. And Melissa is our executive director, and she does a great job, and all of our staff do a fabulous job. So we realize that we can't build our way out of congestion because we just don't have enough roads to support all of the drive-alone traffic that could exist. But if you look at the 494 region, our Southwest Metro region, and you compare that, so the bar on the left is employment in the downtown Minneapolis at about 174,000 employees, downtown St. Paul in green at 43,750, and on the 494 corridor from the airport to 394, 284,272. So, you know, more than the other two areas combined. So this is really an economic engine. This area drives the whole economy of the Southwest area and of the metro area. And what we found is that about 95% of the commuters who work along this corridor drive alone to work. And so what we're trying to do is find other ways to help reduce that demand and help reduce congestion. So to slow the growth of the demand, what we've been doing is our staff works with bicycle commuting. We promote carpooling and van pooling, more people commuting by transit, and also telework is an important aspect of commuting. Working with the employers is so important because it takes a commitment from all of the employers to really dedicate themselves to working with their staffs to make a change. And without that, it's almost impossible. So that's why we really appreciate all of the work that you guys do in making that happen. And so Commuter Services held 115 commuter fairs with employers in multi-tenant office buildings last year alone. So that's a lot of meetings. We've assisted with 2,400 drive-alone commuters with customized transit, carpool, van pool, bicycle commuting, and telework resources. And we've got great resources. If you ever need any help, if you don't know about all of those things, let Melissa or I know, or one of our staff, and we can help you. So more from less for more, from Mahatma Gandhi, and working through employers has a significant positive impact. 78% of the drive-alone commuters say if their employer provided a commute benefit, that would have a major effect on their commute mode of choice. And we've really found that to be true, and that really helps. So when the employers are committed, it really helps the employees. When employers provide commuter programs such as transit benefit, telework, van pools, preferential parking programs, 1 in 5 employees kick their solo commuting habit. And that's really a 20% shift. So that's a big change, and that really makes a difference. And that happens a lot on 494. When is it the most effective time to change someone's commute? Really, when there's another change happening. So when they're starting a new job, when they move to a new location, or when something disrupts their daily routine. And that happens a lot in this corridor. And we're going to learn a little bit more about some of those disruptions to our daily routine and our commute from the MnDOT folks. But it's all positive. It's good things. So I'd like to read a little introduction on. We have three of our very great, helpful MnDOT employees here today. And Aaron Tagg, who's going to be presenting first, he's a professional engineer. He's worked for MnDOT for 17 years, and he started as a student worker when he was a civil engineering student at the University of Minnesota. He is currently a West Area Engineer in MnDOT's Metro District. As West Area Engineer, he helps to manage MnDOT's program in Hennepin County. Prior to serving as West Area Engineer, he worked in MnDOT's Metro District Transit section, working in right-of-way design and construction on North Star Commuter Rail, Green Line LRT, and Green Line Extension LRT. Then we have Andrew Latoya, who's going to also be presenting, and he's also a professional engineer. And I have a lot of respect for professional engineers. I'm an electrical engineer, but I'm not a professional engineer. It's it takes a lot of extra studying and test taking to get your PE. So I truly respect that, guys. Andrew's a West Area Metro engineer at MnDOT, and part of his role is to coordinate and connect MnDOT's projects with cities and the public in West Hennepin County, a very busy area. Andrew is licensed professional engineer in Minnesota with nearly 14 years of experience in civil engineering and project management. And Andrew attends a lot of our monthly meetings, and we really appreciate having his perspective there so that we can discuss and ask questions, and it's really great to have him there. Then we have Molly Klein next, and Molly is also a professional engineer. And Molly has worked for MnDOT for 10 years rather, following graduating from NDSU with a degree in civil engineering. And she's currently a South Area Metro engineer for MnDOT. And as South Area engineer, she helps to manage MnDOT's programs in Dakota County. And prior to serving in South Area engineer, she worked in the Metro District Maintenance. So welcome to all of our MnDOT employees. And so I'm going to turn it over to you guys. And I know you have some presentations that you're going to be going through and going back and forth. So welcome and come on up.
So I'm Aaron Tagg with MnDOT. I'm here to talk about disruption, I guess. I'm here to talk about today two projects, but I'm going to start off with the 35W at 94 project. And one thing I realized this morning is I've taken out the slide that talks about what this project is. And I guess we're to the point where if you don't know that 35W is construction south of town, you've probably not traveled north of 494 in a while. But kind of as a background, 35W 94 project, it's a big project we have going on right now. It started last summer, fall, and it goes through the summer of 2021. It's a project that came together after many decades of work. Four big partners as part of the project: Metro Transit, the City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, and MnDOT. So I'm here today really to talk about where we are with the project, update people on the construction. So on October 22nd, we had a big milestone. We moved into phase 3 of the project. So phase 2 of the project that we were in this summer for about 4 months was the most impactful part of the project. So a big piece of that was we had the access into and out of downtown Minneapolis completely closed. So moving into stage 3 of the project on October 22nd, we reopened that, as well as made some traffic shifts. So you can see on this map here, we're about a third of the way through the entire project. So we're moving along, we're on schedule and on budget. So kind of what we got done this year. It's a good time moving into stage 3, kind of reflect on everything that was done. From a bridge standpoint, this year was really about getting bridges out of the way. So there was a number of bridges that crossed 35W. We got a number of these bridges completed and a bunch out of the way. Tomorrow, I think at 5 or 6 a.m., the 26th Street Bridge that's been under construction for the last number of months will reopen, followed immediately by closing the 28th Street Bridge, which will coincide with a weekend closure this weekend so we can demolish that bridge. But we're moving ahead. That 28th Street Bridge is the last bridge that goes over 35W that has to be demoed as part of this project. We also had a number of structural work around downtown Minneapolis. I'll talk about the tunnel bridge a number of times. You'll see it in the presentation to kind of understand why we call it tunnel bridge. But we got a number of structures done in a very short amount of time this summer in the 35W 94 area. And then we continue to work on bridges in the Lake Street area. Right now we're really working on the southbound side of the freeway. If you drive that corridor, you'll see probably close to a dozen cranes in this area. There's a lot of work going on here, and that work will continue through the winter. So we'll keep working on the structures and retaining walls throughout the winter to get a lot of those bridges done for moving into stage 4 next year. Weekend closures. I noted we have one coming up this weekend. We have tentatively another one next weekend. We've had a lot of closures this year. And a lot of that was related to that bridge demolition and getting those bridges out of the way, as well as some pretty major utility crossings that we dug across the interstate over a weekend, put in some very large utilities and repaved it and got them back open. But as you can see from this chart here, the majority of the weekend closures are gonna be behind us now. So moving forward, we're gonna see a lot fewer, more on the rounds of, maybe one or so a year. So what did we get when we moved into Stage 3? So first off, we opened access out of downtown Minneapolis on that we call it Highway 65. That is transit only, so it gave them a big advantage. Charles will talk about this maybe later, but transit, Metro Transit, MTA have seen a big savings in being able to move back to that entrance out of downtown Minneapolis. We also opened one lane into downtown Minneapolis. This is for general purpose traffic. So anyone can now get from 35W directly into downtown Minneapolis via that direct connection. We closed the 31st Street entrance ramp. So previously that had been open to buses and violators. So now it is closed to everyone. So the buses can't use it, and if the violators try now, they'll end up in a big pile of dirt. So that's closed now. Really encourage anyone that's driving downtown to follow the signs we have. We have two big do not enter signs on either side of the ramp. That means please don't go that way unless you are a bus and it says you can do that. There's a number of reasons for that. Some of it's safety, some of it's how the traffic interacts when it merges onto the freeway. Professional bus drivers coming, 1 minute or so can merge into traffic a lot easier and safer than general traffic can. We moved the alignment of southbound 35W to what is essentially going to be the permanent alignment. So we did a lot of permanent paving in the October timeframe, and you'll see that a little bit later. And we opened the northbound 35W ramp to 31st Street Monday it opened. So that was good news for people trying to get into the South Minneapolis. And so what are we going to work on during Stage 3? Continue to work on some of the bridges near downtown Minneapolis. Continue to work on that southbound side of the freeway, kind of between where the new pavement ends today down to the 31st Street area. Keep working on bridges, get a number of those done. In the south part of the project, right now we're really working on the center of the freeway, so we'll get the permanent pavement and median barrier in for the center of the freeway. And then there will continue to be a lot of work kind of on the outside of the freeway area, on the side streets and intersections, retaining walls, utilities. So Stage 2, 4 months long, a lot of work got done. The picture up there on the top, the picture is from before late June, but that's essentially what 35W looked like looking north from Franklin in late June. 4 months later, in October, it looked like this. So contractors got a lot of work done in 4 months in this area. As you've traveled the corridor, you've probably seen the huge piles of concrete that turned into huge piles of material, crushed up material. Not only is it great that we're being able to recycle all this material, but it saves, we're reusing this material as base for the highway, so it saves a lot of trucking. So there's thousands of trucks that we're taking off of the regional freeway system, off of local roads, by being able to crush this concrete on site and then reuse it right on site. Otherwise, we would have to haul all that off and then haul in new material to place for the pavement. And then, a really big piece of getting all this work done was a lot of night work was done. So contractor crews were working 24 hours a day for about six 6 days a week for the first half, and then once we got into September and October, they stepped that up to 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, especially in the 35W94 area. You can see here, this is a picture from around midnight in late September. They're paving the southbound 35W lanes over here, a big job, and they're paving the new deck for the southbound Highway 65 bridge into downtown Minneapolis. So just about every night, they moved it around. They were trying to kind of spread the impacts. You know, this is something that really helped with traffic and transit to get those services into downtown Minneapolis reestablished, but it did have an effect on the neighbors who live around here, and trying to minimize that by moving crews around and stuff like that. All right, so now we have some drone footage of what it looks like today. So this is looking south, so downtown is right behind us, 94 is right here. This is all new pavement that was completed during stage 4, stage 2, of the work. New bridge over 94, the new Highway 65 bridge up here. This is what we refer to as the tunnel bridge. So this is a new configuration where southbound 35W comes under Highway 65 just after the big curve or through the big curve. Before, southbound 35 kind of was on the left side of the corridor, and then around 24th Street we had the Bray Bridge, so it came up and over and came in actually on the right side of the freeway. So this changes that configuration. You can see the piers here starting to appear for the new northbound 35, the westbound 94 bridge. This is looking kind of northwest, so 94 is over here. Here's southbound 35. Again, you can see the tunnel bridge here. This is the reestablished 65 into downtown Minneapolis. It's just one lane for general traffic right now, and then one transit-only lane out here. Down here, this is where southbound 35W had been during stage 2 of the project. And then this is kind of flying on Highway 65 into downtown Minneapolis at the 15th Street Bridge. Looking here, this is going to be the new transit access into and out of downtown Minneapolis on 12th Street. So we've reestablished people being able to get into here. They paved since this was done Fifth Avenue, so they're working on trying to maybe get that open this fall. Still, it's not supposed to open until next year, but they're working on that. And then this is the off of 12th Street for the buses only. And then another view looking north, so there's 94, 35 going around the side over here, and that's Highway 65. You can see the disruption to a lot of the residences along here. The street was in front of their residences, and houses were torn up for much of stage 2, but that's getting back in place and will be paved before the winter. This is from about 24th Street looking north. You can see the retaining walls starting to come in on the west side of the freeway. You can see where they've been completed over here. The new Franklin Avenue Bridge opened in the June time frame. This is all new pavement in this area, and the northbound traffic is over on the right side of the freeway headed northbound. This is the Lake Street area. So they've started work on the southbound bridges around Lake Street. And one thing I want to point out here, and I don't want to steal Charles's thunder for later talking about the Orange Line, but I just want to note that you can see how much little space there is underneath 35W with the existing Lake Street bridges. With the new bridge and the new transit station, these are the two abutments, so there's that much room underneath 35W. So from a perception standpoint, as you are a pedestrian or transit user going through that area, it will feel much, much better. And then this is the south side of the corridor. As I said before, we're largely working in the center of the freeway. They will pave that next year. And then as we move into stage 4 of the project, the southbound traffic will move into the center lanes, and they will start reconstructing the southbound side of the freeway. Right there is the pier for the 40th Street pedestrian bridge. So that is kind of a quick update on the project. I think we'll do questions at the end after kind of we all get through our different projects, but I think Andrew is next to talk about the river bridge.
Again, my name is Andrew Butaya, and talk about the 35W River Bridge crossing. I don't have an aerial video, it was all used up with. I was just hoping that you have left the construction in Minneapolis in your rearview mirror. We get you when you're just about crossing Bloomington. So I have a couple of slides that show where the bridge replacement is happening. I'll talk briefly about what we're trying to achieve with this project. And then the last points I'll talk through is what the construction staging is looking like. So this is, as you're crossing Minnesota River, Bloomington is on the north side, Burnsville is on the south side. Our construction limits are from 106th Street Bridge, which is about there, up to Cliff Road. We are replacing the bridges where they have reached their useful life, and as part of the project, we are reconstructing 35W, raising it up from the floodplain, if I could say, about 3 feet, and including a trail from, I think there is an existing trail down by the river, so we are going to be introducing a new trail that crosses the bridge and connects back to Angel Avenue in Bloomington. So for those who are not familiar with our ring, Highway 62 is up here, this is 494, the river crossing is right there. So if you're looking for alternate routes to avoid that mess, Highway 77 is an option, and 169 is another option. So it is important to also point out that project was a partnership with both counties of Hennepin and Dakota, plus also the cities of Bloomington, Burnsville, Metro Transit, as they were planning their Orange Line BRT that is running from Burnsville all the way to Minneapolis. And of course, the Federal Highway Administration, because they had to sign off on an environmental document to allow the project to move forward. So what we were trying to achieve for this project was that, again, the bridge had reached its useful life, so it needed to be replaced. But as part of that effort, we wanted to also improve vehicular safety and mobility across the river, and add and improve pedestrian access. So that's the trail that we're proposing. The project is a design-build type of delivery method, meaning that we got a contractor on board, Ames Construction, which is actually the same company that is doing Lake Street, 35W and 94. So once they got the project, then they start on designing, on the design process, the final plan design process. I have a few slides of what the visual quality design process that was held to give you an idea of what we are thinking, what the project will look like at the end. But as part of the visual quality process, we wanted to make sure that we capture the story of the region, including both all the cities of Bloomington and Burnsville. So there will be entry monument signs that are about 20 feet high on either side of the bridge. That was quite a process that was involved in getting us to this stage of how the monument signs will look like. If you get a chance to go at the bottom of the river, that's what you will be looking at. So there is some artwork that is going to be included in the piers that are supporting the bridge deck at the top. And the trail that is crossing the bridge, this is what we are visioning that it will look like once construction is done. So for construction staging, I would also like to point out that I would encourage you to visit the project website, because as remember, it's design build, everything is not set in stone one until the contractor has designed it. So some of this might change, but as of today, we are envisioning that project is going to be set out in the summer of this year. It's going to be going through the fall of 2021. There will be off-peak lane closures throughout construction, except during the winter months, that all lanes will be open. The big shift is that southbound 35W from 106th Street is going to be reduced from 4 lanes to 3, 2 general purpose lanes, and 1 main pass or HOV lane, high occupancy vehicle lane. The trail at the bottom, unfortunately, will be closed during the day because they're working down at the bottom to replace repairs. And throughout construction, there might be more than 3 or 2 lanes closed. So the highway may be reduced to single lanes in each direction after 10 p.m. But again, that would only be happening outside the winter months. So if you care to know what side of the existing median barrier you will be traveling on, this is the slide that kind of highlights out how they are planning to replace the bridge. So currently they're working on the northbound bridge. There are 2 bridges abutting to each other, so they're working to replace the northbound side. Traffic is going to be shifted on the west side, so on the west side of the existing median barrier throughout 2019. In each direction, we shall be placing movable barriers, of course, to demarcate where the lanes are. In 2020, traffic will be shifted back to the right side. If you're going northbound, to the east side of 35W. And lastly, in 2021, traffic will go back on their respective sides of the existing median barrier. So questions, again, will be following after I've got this presentation.
I'm here to talk about the 494 pavement project. We are kind of coining this the between the rivers, so we're not getting confused with one of the next projects that's coming up. But this project is on 494 from the east side of the Minnesota River Bridge to 3rd Avenue in South St. Paul. So it goes through Egan, Mendota Heights, South St. Paul, Sunfish Lake, and Inver Grove Heights. The work description, it includes pavement work, so a mill and overlay. It includes 7 bridges that are getting a surface treatment and new expansion joints. There is sidewalk work at a number of intersections outside of 494, new signals at Pilot Knob Road as well as, well, on both sides of Pilot Knob Road. And then there is lighting work in the median of 494 that will be replaced throughout that project description. We understand that this project is going to be impactful to both the commuters that travel this route as well as residents, because we assume traffic will divert off 494 and try to find those alternate routes. So as we're aware of that, we plan to do 2 contracting requirements to help minimize the duration of this construction. One being an A+B bidding, where we'll factor in the time that it will take a contractor to do the work, as well as the cost that they are going to charge us to do that work. And then we will also do a lane rental. So we anticipate some weekend work. We are going to charge a fee per hour for lane impacts to encourage the contractors even more so to reduce the duration of time that they are working on 494 in this area. Construction timing, we will be starting work in the spring of 2019 with the big work starting after July 1st of 2019, lasting into 2020. So the staging is on the board, or on the visual here, starting from the east end. So in orange, we anticipate 4 weekends worth of work in this area to do the mill and overlay work. So if you've traveled westbound 494 in the past, or in the relatively recent past, you've noticed the pavement isn't holding up very well. We are going to do echelon paving, so we are going to run multiple pavers at the same time, trying to eliminate some of those construction joints that are out there, and those are the joints that are not holding up today. So we're going to try to eliminate as many of those joints as possible with this construction process. But that also requires us narrowing down 494 from its current configuration to a single lane. So For these weekends, there will be a single lane of traffic on 494 in the direction of construction. The opposite direction will have full use of all of the lanes of 494. So it will be weekend impacts in the orange and blue areas. We anticipate 2 per direction, 2 weekends per direction per area here. So the orange area on the east side from 3rd Street to 62 will have 2 weekends of impact eastbound and 2 weekends of impact westbound. Again, that would remain for the blue section here from 35E to 62. This section, we don't have a great alternate route, so this actually will have a single lane in the direction of traffic utilizing crossovers and movable barriers. So there will be 1 lane of traffic in the direction of construction. We will reduce from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, that opposite direction, and we will shift that single lane of traffic into the opposite lanes. We anticipate that being 4 weekends, 2 in each direction again. The bridge work here at 35E, there are 7 bridges, again, that are going to be worked on. The westbound bridges will be worked on in 2019, so those will start in mid-July. That work will last through the end of 2019, so fall of 2019. That will reduce capacity to 2 lanes in that direction for the duration of the bridge work. When we come back eastbound in 2020, that would also have that 2-lane restriction. The area in green, so from the river to 35E, that is planned to be a full closure with a detour. So those would be 2 weekends. In each direction, we will detour that traffic utilizing Highway 77 and 35E back up to 494. So we know, again, that this is going to be impactful. We are utilizing those 2 contracting methods to really try to minimize that work. We modeled a number of options for getting in and getting out quicker in this area. So what if we did a full closure for a week? Could we get all this work done? Could we get in and get out? And it just kind of diverted all of the traffic on 494 to different routes. So 52, 35B, you name it, it saw a ton more traffic, and those routes couldn't handle all of that traffic for that week. So we are planning, again, those weekend closures. We anticipate 12 of them. We are requiring the contractor to work westbound 494 in 2019, and we will allow some of the work eastbound to carry over into 2020. And this is only because the industry that we met with said there is not really a chance you can get all of this work done in 2019. So we will push to get as much of it done in 2019 as possible, but some of it, especially the bridges, we know will hold over until 2020, but some of that pavement work might hold over until 2020 as well. So public outreach, we are planning to do more technology-based outreach than a standard open house. We will not plan to have really any open houses for this project. There might be specific ones for neighborhoods that might be impacted, but for the general public, we are really going to use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using targeted ads. For those, we will use our typical MnDOT outreach, so a news release, website updates, email blast if you're kind of subscribed to the project update. We're reaching out to the cities in the area and the county as well. We're happy to provide a blurb, we call it, so information about the project that the city could share with their standard newsletter that they print and mail to every resident and business in the area. We are happy to reach out to anyone. We're planning local, regional TV, print, and newspaper or radio as well. We're happy to tape a segment on local access. We want the word to get out. So if you have any ideas for us that we could try, we're happy to do so with this project. We have specific outreach planned to those businesses and groups on the right side. If we have missed anyone that you're aware of, we'd be happy to add to this list. We know this is going to be impactful for those weekends, and we'd like to get the word out. So with that, this is my contact information. Here's the project website. It is being updated kind of as we speak. So if you're interested, my contact information is on here. Kirsten Klein, who's in the group as well, is our communications person on this project. So she would be a great contact as well. But again, both of our information is on that website too. Thanks.
And I'm coming back up for just one more slide on a different project. This is for Highway 5 around the airport, so between 494 up to 62. Hopefully Melissa will invite me back next year to talk more about this when we have more details. But essentially, we have a significant amount of pavement and bridge work to do in this corridor. So we're planning to do this in the 2020 construction season. Right now, it's looking like we can get it all done in 2020, but we're still working on the details. Because of the type of work we need to do here, there will be some significant traffic impacts. We're still working on the details of that. But it's likely that we're going to have directional closures along this segment of Highway 5. So more to come on this next year, but just wanted to get this on everyone's radar. And let us know if there's any coordination with your cities or entities that you'd like to have in the near term.
Andrew has
I have one more.
Okay.
If you want to listen to it.
We want to listen.
All right, so I have a couple of slides on the 494 corridor between the river by the airport to 169. So this is a planned project that is anticipated to begin construction in 2023. But would love to, of course, involve the public on helping us identify the priorities that we should be trying to address. So in my presentation, I'll talk through the goals that we want to achieve, budgets, the delivery schedule that we are currently tracking, public engagement strategies, very key to getting the word out there and promote public support and input in our project. The phases, talk through just 2 phases of the preliminary design process that we are currently underway on. So my project limits are, as I said earlier, it's from the river on the east side all the way to 169. And project has quite a bit of history on it, that there have been a lot of studies that have been commissioned and funded, built portions of since 2001, when the first environmental document was approved by the Federal Highway Administration. Then as that report, projects were built through that report, it got to a point where we had to revisit everything, and as traffic patterns also changed, as priorities changed in the department, it encouraged us to commission other studies, and the most recent one was completed in the fall of last year, where they were looking at reducing congestion on this corridor, but also on Highway 62. So as what came out of that report was to support a managed lane facility on 494, which then kind of merged into us getting environmental clearance on this corridor to get something happen in, as I mentioned earlier, in 2023. So we know that there are some deficient assets on the corridor, including pavement, bridges, and retaining walls that need work. We have about 3 bridges on Nicolette, Portland, and 12 that have reached their useful life, so they are due for replacement. As part of that process, we are also considering eliminating access of the highway access on and off 12th Avenue, similar to Nicolette, and just leave access at Portland. So that interchange would be getting wider. And there's a couple of slides coming up later, but the goal in there is to improve mobility on 494. So vehicle mobility and reduce crashes that are being registered because of those interchanges, the proximity of those interchanges. We are also going to be improving pedestrian access across the highway. And hopefully, as we improve pedestrian access, we are also promoting neighborhood connectivity on the other side of the corridor. We are very interested in improving transit advantage by providing the added capacity on 494. Dakota County has plans to introduce a managed lane or a mini-bus lane on 77. So that is projected to come after the work on 494 is done. So we would want to accommodate that additional capacity when it comes in the future. It is a very big price tag to get this entire vision realized. So the project that I'm leading right now will have to, as the part of the deliverables that will come would be to create a report that kind of lays out how we are going to implement the entire vision of the expansion. So thanks to our local partners, including the 494 Coalition, the cities of Bloomington and Richfield, Hennepin County, Metro Transit, and of course the state legislature, they awarded the corridor bonding money to add a managed lane facility between France Avenue to Highway 77, but also to reconstruct at least a phase of the interchange at 35W and 494. So that the 70 million is to build a northbound ramp from 35W to westbound 494. As also part of our planning, we have identified currently just a portion of payment or payment asset need that we'll need to do, and that is from the river to 24th, which is about there, or somewhere in here. No, it's actually here. 24th is to plan for a concrete pavement rehabilitation job. So, as always, when we are planning such corridor projects, we want to come in, get all the asset repairs done, and try to stay out at least for the next 20, 30 years. But of course, we have constraints that we don't have that deep pockets. So we are, as we have that vision of staying out, now we are looking at how we could fund the additional payment needs from 24th to 100. We know that our drainage system is currently over capacity, so all the flow that comes on the corridor most of the flow is being directed to the river with a minimal or no treatment. And with all this expansion, with knowing that it's a very busy corridor, very the big employment base, so we know right of way is going to be coming at a premium. So how we manage all these competing needs is what I'm tasked with. Oh, good. So for timelines on what we're anticipating to deliver the project, I did mention that we're targeting 2023 to 2025. There is a desire to manage the duration of this timeline, and for us to do that, we are considering doing early work in 2020 or 2020, I'll say 2021, 2022 timeframe. That early work that we are considering would be replacing, for example, bridges that during their construction wouldn't reduce lanes on 494. So if we can get most of the bridges out of the way, there is a chance or likelihood that that may end up being maybe a 2-year construction season versus the 3 that we are showing right now, and it actually could be more than 3. So trying to work through the details of that. To get us to the early work package of 2021, we need the Federal Highway Administration to approve our environmental document in the spring of 2020. We are currently in the process of defining what the project should look like in terms of through the environmental process, whether we're going to be constructing general purpose lanes, or we're going to be building the main path lanes as the funding from the legislature directed us to. So I'm kind of hinting on the risk that we are managing at the moment, that if it's not through the public involvement, if it's not main paths, then we don't have money to do anything. So for engagement strategies, we're looking for input on two things. One, we need the public to help us develop the project. Secondly, we need them to support the type of project that comes out at the end. As the department and through the Met Council, which is the regional transportation body, the priorities for accommodating any expansion on any metro corridor is through managed lanes, not general purpose lanes. But from the surveys that we have done, online surveys of public engagement and involvement that we have done, it seems like there seems to be a split, about a 50-50 split in support or in favor of GP lanes over main path lanes. So there is still that education effort that we have to do. So as we are marketing our project, we're going to be, we are proposing to do more communication through the traditional methods of TVs, TV ads, media, newspapers. We have online surveys that we can push out. We recently did one on determining the purpose and need of the project. We are hosting open houses, pop-up events, including to businesses if they will accommodate us. We have a couple of design workshops that we have to host to get buy-in on the proposed access consolidation. And these outreach meetings, community outreach meetings, are going to be tailored to communities that are adjacent on the corridor. So if there are suggestions on how we can best reach out to you, we would love to know more about that. So on what we have accomplished so far through this process is that we have identified what the purpose and need of the project is. So purpose and need is we need to define what the problem is and what the suggestions, what suggestions we have to fix that problem. So from the existing conditions reports that we have, we know that the corridor is highly congested. It's about 4 to 6 hours of congestion daily. It's ranked about among the top 10 in crashes in the entire state. So it's a high crash corridor, mainly because of the congestion that the corridor is experiencing. We know that as you're planning your trip from one side of the corridor to the other, chances are that you're not going to be traversing that entire corridor consistently at the same time. So we have issues on how consistent you can plan your trip to traverse the corridor. I did mention asset needs that we have to repair to keep the corridor open, and benefits or advantages on increasing transit mobility along the corridor. So the need, so the purpose is to do that. The need is what we're going to be looking at. So how we improve vehicle safety is of course, as you expand the corridor, you're giving them more room to traverse the corridor. That does help. Vehicle mobility is also, there could be an argument made between general purpose lanes and main path lanes on what does improve vehicle mobility the best. Asset conditions, I did kind of hinting on that a lot because we have to figure out how we can be in and stay out for the next 20, 30 years. How we promote neighborhood connectivity by accommodating pedestrian access on all proposed new bridges, and how we deal with the overcapacity drainage system that is on the corridor right now. So to get us to a well-defined purpose and need statement, we have held about close to 3,700, beyond 3,700 conversations with the general public, including pop-up events at farmers markets, council workshops, things of that nature. We sent out an online survey back in September, I think end of September, to get input on what the public thought about the corridor. Luckily enough, I would say it makes our job a lot easier because the public did agree that they're seeing travel time, so mobility is an issue on the corridor, which is in agreement to what the study, the data that we have. Very concerned about the number of crashes on the corridor and the asset condition that we have. So we carried those forward as primary needs to fix on the corridor. And the storm water drainage, because if you don't see it, then you don't worry about it, but it is still an issue there. And pedestrian access. So pedestrian access was a very common comment that we received at the pop-up events that we held with the public. So we had about, on this online survey that was sent out, there was a comment section that people could also fill in. And there are about 205 additional comments that we got. So as the size of the text does show the popularity of the comment that we received. More people are looking at getting additional lanes, how we manage congestion in terms of alleviating traffic backups on the corridor. What was very interesting that the general public does understand that as you have many entrance and exit ramps, they're causing some level of friction on mainline traffic. So about 53, we received 53 comments talking about reducing the number of exit and entrance ramps on the corridor. So we have submitted our purpose and need to the Federal Highway Administration for approval. We are now going into the phase of determining the alternatives that will be carried through final design, but also how we are planning to manage traffic during construction. I did talk to waiting until 2023 for mainline construction impacts. The next slide kind of speaks more directly to that. I've mentioned early work packages that we could consider moving forward with. We did talk about 12 Poland and Nicolette, so that's where we're considering access consolidation. We also know there are overpasses, so chances of us replacing them without impacting mainline traffic are high. Phase one of the interchange, because we have money for it, there is a chance that it could also go if we did not, through refining our plans, shows that we will not impact traffic. Charles will be talking about the Metro Transit's Orange Line, Knox Avenue underpass. That's a project that is starting up next year. And wherever possible, utility relocations. In the past, we have had delays caused by utility relocations on projects. So any way we can manage any of that is to our benefit. To get us moving on seeing something happening out there, all project deliverable methods are still on the table. for us to consider. Design build, I alluded to what is happening on 35W, the river bridge, is you have a proposal, you get a contractor on board to give you the final details of what is going to be constructed. Design bid build is what is 35W and 94, that all the plans are developed in-house, then you go out and solicit a contractor to build the project. The construction manager, general manager option is when we have complex, usually we use it when we have a complex bridge replacement projects, and we are already eyeing the railroad bridge between Lindale and Nicolette that also needs to be replaced. But some of the guidance that were given by the railroad is that they want their bridge to remain in service during construction. So yes, this really speaks to the two seasons we have in Minnesota, winter and construction. Lake Street, 35W and 94 is up here. It's happening now. We have the river bridge happening through 2021. Marley did mention the 494 project. So as we look at the system, we put some level of thought and detail in how we stage our projects to minimize construction impacts to the general public. So as part of that is that we try not to be working on alternate routes. So for example, when the 494 project comes through, we'll have Highway 62 as an alternate route for it. I did mention 35W, we have 169, we have 100 open. Aaron mentioned Highway 5, the Highway 5 job that is coming up in 2019 and 2020. So hopefully that is happening after the 494 project concludes. So there is quite a bit of effort that is put in as we lay out construction projects in the STEEP. The STEEP is a 5-year program that identifies all the projects that are going to be done by MnDOT in the next 5 years. So that's all I had. We're opening up for questions now. Yeah, all right. Questions? Hearing none.
I actually have one. So for the Cedar Avenue mid-pass,
Yes.
so for the Cedar Avenue mid-pass lane, coming out of Apple Valley, there are 2 lanes. Coming into Apple Valley, there are 3 lanes. Will they be widening the lanes out of Apple Valley and Cedar Avenue as part of an impasse project? Excellent.
Any other questions? Now's your chance. We got the experts here. Take advantage. Don't let it pass.
On the first presentation, I believe it was Aaron, how, I saw that there was a bus lane leaving downtown. How do cars exit downtown? They can get in, but they can't get out. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work.
So cars will continue to use the detour route we used during stage 2, which is use 4th Street out of downtown Minneapolis. So from 4th Street, you can get onto 35W southbound. We're also encouraging people to think about, their alternatives, whether that's transit, telecommuting, using a different route out of downtown, so maybe 394. And so.
You can come, but you can never leave. Any other questions?
All right, so if I understood correctly, when you were talking about the 494 work that would be done, you're talking about some of the traffic would be directed to Crosstown to cover that. Crosstown already does not move on a normal day. Now you're going to take traffic from 494 and bump it up there. I'm not quite sure how that can accommodate the additional traffic.
So as we continue with the plan development, we're going to be running traffic diversion models. And what those will show us is what sort of improvements, temporary improvements we can put both on the local system and on our highway system. So there is likelihood that we might be able to strike temporary lanes on Crosstown, very similar to what has been done for the 35W at 94 project.
We'll give it to you anyway.
Just a quick question about bicycle access during the 494 projects. One, does the 494 project that we just covered at the end here from the river to 394 include a reconstruction of that trail that's attached to the 494 bridge? And then two, you talked about Portland, Nicollet, and 12th Avenue bridges during that. And there's that detached bicycle bridge that just opened that connects Richfield to Bloomington and is now one of the primary routes. When you're working on that 12th Avenue bridge, will bicyclists still have access to the attached bike bridge?
So yeah, was the go into construction staging details, which we are about a year away from now. Yes, we plan to accommodate more pedestrian access on all new bridges, and for the river, for the what is it called, the Narmal Creek Regional Trail Bridge on 12th, it has to be replaced because the abutments are not wide enough to accommodate any expansion on 494. But as we replace them, that accommodation is most likely going to be on top of the new 12th Avenue Bridge. So in terms of construction, during construction, there are guidelines that we have to follow to maintain pedestrian access. And we will walk through those details at that time, but most likely there will be some level of connectivity that is retained during construction.
And then the trail along 494 is likely going to be lumped in with the bridge work at 494 over the Minnesota River Bridge. We do have a project planned in 2019 to mill and overlay that trail between Highway 13 and is it American Boulevard, that cul-de-sac. It wouldn't touch the bridge per se, but it would improve the trail leading up to the bridge.
Any other questions? Going once. If there's no other questions, I really want to thank our MnDOT team for being here and for presenting. I think they did a great job in showing all the great construction that we've got coming up. Let's give them a hand. The good news is we've got construction that's expanding and improving mobility. The bad news is we've got construction, and we all have to live through that. So it's going to be painful. Commuter Services, our organization, is also going to be helping MnDOT and getting the word out. So look for updates from Commuter Services and to all the employers and to all the stakeholders. We're going to try to keep everyone informed when projects are coming and what impacts are going to be, and then what alternatives you have for transportation. And we'll be helping to make sure that we're helping the workers, the residents, with alternative modes of transportation around those areas. So thank you, MnDOT guys. We really appreciate that. Now we're going to hear from Charles Carlson, and I'll give you a little update about Charles. Charles is going to be talking to us about transit project updates. So Charles is the director of BRT projects for Metro Transit in Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Charles leads a team of planners, engineers, project managers, and construction managers implementing over a dozen BRT lines in the Twin Cities by 2030. The department's 7 active projects range from $35 million to $420 million and includes active FTA, new starts, and small starts projects. Over the past decade, Charles has led BRT projects through study, planning, design, construction, and implementation. He was recognized as one of the Mass Transit magazine 40 Under 40. In 2014 and 2018, he received the Honorable Ray LaHood Award from WTS Minnesota, and Charles holds master's and bachelor's degrees from the University of Minnesota. So welcome, Charles.
Well, thank you, and thank you, everybody. I think if there's one thing I learned from these MnDOT updates is that we need new ways to get around, even to keep the system that we have. The work involved with that is significant. So I have an update on two very important projects to the region, two big transit projects that are coming. We've seen some of the visuals from it. I can't compete with Aaron's drone photography, but we'll do what we can. So at Metro Transit, we've been in the business of moving people for a long time. In fact, almost 150 years. And that started back in the 19th century with horse-drawn streetcars. And through various forms and iterations, Metro Transit has been serving the region in a lot of different ways. Across that period, really evolving as our region has evolved, as our system has evolved. But every once in a while, we go through a period of a significant reinvention of our service. And so we're actually in the midst of one of those times now. So as we're looking forward, as we think of the last 10 years or so, we introduced light rail. We brought our first bus rapid transit line into the system, but we've also advanced a number of projects that are on the cusp of being ready to really move the system forward. And the first one I'll talk about is the Orange Line Bus Rapid Transit Project. I think first I'd recognize we have the Orange Line project manager here in the room with us. Christina Morrison will stand up real quick. So that's Christina. She's been leading the Orange Line for us for a number of years. This is a FTA Small Starts project. Small Starts is a funding program that FTA provides. This is a $150 million project. So the bulk of half of that would come from the FTA. The other half would come from local sources, primarily the counties and the state. It is a 17-mile corridor. We've identified 12 stations that are shown on the map along the way here. What's different about Orange Line from our current bus service is that it runs all day and it runs both in and out of downtown. We've gotten very good over the years at bringing people into downtown in the morning and out of downtown in the evening. It's been more of a challenge to bring people through the corridor all day, to go to the reverse commute destinations, to get to locations such as along 494. A big reason why that's the case is because the infrastructure has not been in place to allow efficient, attractive transit in this corridor. So the Orange Line is about completing the vision that provides not just a quick ride into downtown, but a lifeline service that you can depend on across the day and across the years. And 35W is a big corridor for us. We carry 14,000 rides a day now. We're expecting to almost double that with the implementation of Orange Line, as well as ongoing development and growth within the corridor. We serve about 200,000 jobs with the Orange Line, about 30,000 of those just directly within the station area of the areas that we're planning are outside of downtown Minneapolis, with connecting service to dozens of additional employment sites. So we talked about the 35W and 94 project. I think if you weren't sure whether downtown access was closed this summer, I think this picture kind of seals the deal on that. So this is about reinventing 35W for the next 50 years. And part of that is accommodating transit in a very purposeful and accessible and thoughtful way. It's new access to Lake Street. It is a new congestion-free travel option in and out of downtown through the entire corridor. Notably, a online station for the Orange Line project at Lake Street. So really the crossroads, a significant crossroads in the corridor, as well as a transit ramp into downtown. And so this image just shows a little more about what that ramp might look like as we're getting into it, but now you can actually see it taking shape in the center. So buses are using that outside lane now, but the transit-only bridge will be in the center that's shown in this picture. That bridge nearly complete and then open for service in the future, not quite yet. Lake Street Station, so we saw the image of the station plaza and how much wider the environment is underneath the Lake Street 35W bridge. This is a look into the future a little bit at what that'll look like when it is closer to completion. So you see the really significant and permanent transit station here in the center of 35W. We'll be serving this location with over 100 buses an hour. So significant level of transit service frequency in the future, and a station that has the capacity to provide that service to our customers. The image on the lower left is actually the structural steel for part of that station has been fabricated and is ready to go in future years. So it's literally becoming a reality. It's not on site, it's at the point of manufacture at that point. But Lake Street and the work combined with the 35W at 94 project is not the whole story of the Orange Line. We have other stations along the route, and we also have other major infrastructure that allows us to provide all-day service and better access to 494. There's two other packages that we're getting ready to go under construction. The first would be an underpass at Knox Avenue. We'll see a picture of that in a second here. So what this allows is a better access across 494 by going underneath it. There would also be stations that we'd be constructing south of 46th Street, as well as some changes within downtown Minneapolis. So that combined with the work shared with MnDOT would really complete the Orange Line package. We are actually at the point of a federal decision. So we've requested $74 million from the federal government. They are considering our ask right now. If there's any US DOT secretaries in the room, I'd like to talk with you after. So that should be coming very soon. We're eagerly and anxiously awaiting that news from the federal government. With that in place, we would be ready to begin construction next year. So starting construction in 2019, once that full funding package is together, of course. Even if it's not right away in 2019, we would be continuing our work with MnDOT in the northern part of the corridor. With funding, we'd be building in 2019 and 2020, into 2021 a little bit, wrapping up our work ahead of the MnDOT construction project, which, as Andrew said, would be 2022, 2023, and beyond. So getting our work in and out ahead of that construction project. So here's just a picture of what it looks like today as we look south onto 494 from the building that we're in here at Best Buy, shown on the corner there. So we have the park and ride located here in the Southtown Shopping Center just across the highway. This is what it would look like with the Knox Avenue underpass. So rather than going through about a dozen lights and backtracking and a whole bunch of turns that we have to do now, which makes transit service to this area, even though we have it, it's not as attractive as it should be. It's not the choice. What helps make it the choice is having this piece of infrastructure in place. This, you can see the bus located in a transit-only roadway that would go underneath 494. In addition to transit, we would have bicycles, bicycle access under 494, pedestrian access under 494, and hopefully not very many violators accessing underneath 494. We have our own police force in case that becomes an issue. So this would be a significant transformation for us. It would save us many, many minutes per transit trip. It also would provide a better connection for all of the connecting service that runs on 76th Street and on American Boulevard would not have to weave its way over to one side of the freeway or the other. It can have a straight shot, as 35W service also has a straight shot. So with this in place, we're very excited to move the work forward and eagerly, again, awaiting a full funding announcement soon. I'll also talk about another transformative project, the Metro Green Line Extension, also known as Southwest LRT. Has anyone heard of this project before? It's been out there for a while. So this project is set to open, we're planning to open it in 2023. It's a 14.5-mile extension of our Green Line, highly successful light rail corridor, building 16 new stations and providing a single seat trip from Eden Prairie to downtown the U of M and on to St. Paul on our light rail system. In addition to that, it would connect with the Metro Blue Line that would connect with the airport and the Mall of America really making a lot of trips possible that avoid all of those years and years of MnDOT construction projects beginning in the mid-2020s. So a significant part of new ways to get around. So the project, I'm happy to report, is ready to build. The funding is in place on the local level to construct this project, which is a $2 billion project. There is a whole series of federal reviews that you go through for this kind of project. And the federal government has agreed with the overall project budget. They've agreed and given the project a very favorable rating within the competitive rating system that you go through to seek a $1 billion grant for projects like these. There is also successfully negotiated agreements with freight rail corridors that this project intersects with. This has been a significant effort over a number of years, and those pieces are in place. And they have been approved by federal bodies that oversee freight rail and surface transportation. So that piece, long time coming and now fully in place. The project has also received bids, so there's actually a bid in place for the bulk of civil construction on the project, and the Met Council is actually awaiting a federal permission to begin that work. So a lot of eager anticipation of that federal permission in the next week. It's called a letter of no prejudice. What it means is you can begin spending local money and have it count as part of the match toward the project for construction work. But even ahead of the actual construction work, there is significant development planned. There's significant development underway in the corridor. A major focus of the cities in this alignment, and both the planning as well as development activities getting ready and in place for the Southwest LRT project. So that letter of no prejudice would allow a number of activities to progress. One would be really the early startup costs of mobilizing the project, work at Southwest Station in Eden Prairie, and then a number of bridges, and you can see the bridges in the blue boxes on this slide. Prairie Center Drive, there's several structures associated with the Southwest LRT project. Getting that work started early allows those pieces to be in place when later segments of the project put track work in, put overhead catenary systems in, put communication and control systems in toward the planned opening in 2023. So long lead time items, significant technical work, but important early work in getting the project moving forward, including a tunnel of the Kenilworth corridor further closer to downtown. So that is a quick overview of the transit projects, and would be happy to spend a couple minutes answering questions, if there are any.
Any questions for Charles? A lot of exciting projects coming. Well, thank you, Charles.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your being here, and thanks for all your work. And now we've got Kate Meredith, one of our staff members at the Commuter Services, is going to give us an update.
Thank you, Brad. All right, we might need a little stretch. I'm not an engineer, if that's nice to hear. I'm going to go through some of the free resources that are available for your employees, and then some employer programs as well. So we can help your employees find people to carpool with. There's a regional ride matching system that matches based on schedule and route. And then we have some tips on how to set up a successful carpool. We also provide personalized transit information. So we partner with Metro Transit and Southwest Transit and employees who tell us where they live and work and their schedule. We can get them their exact itinerary so they know where their bus stops are, how long their trip is. We also throw in a couple free ride passes, and then we mail that to their home so they have a printout that they can refer to. We have a wealth of bike commuting resources available for anyone who is considering bike commuting. We will provide a free copy of the Hennepin County Bike Map. We also have several route recommendation apps and sites that we direct interested commuters to. Also safety tips and how to bike in traffic, as well as Minnesota bike laws and instructions on how to put your bike on the bus and train, which can be intimidating. We have written instructions, and then we also have a bike rack that we can show people, and we take to certain events as well. There is a great program called Guaranteed Ride Home. It is free to any commuter who is not driving alone using any combination at least 3 days a week. And you kind of sign up for it before you need it, like insurance. It provides a nice safety net, provides up to $100 per year to get home in those emergency situations where you took the bus to work, or you biked, or you got dropped off in your carpool, and your regular way to get home is not available. So you can take a taxi, and now it's also available to take Uber and Lyft or a car rental for really longer commutes. So that's a really nice peace of mind program for commuters who are concerned if they don't have their car at work, that they can get home in those situations. We have several try-it campaigns throughout the year. We find that when commuters make a commitment on their honor by signing one of our pledge forms to try to carpool, bike, bus, whatever non-drive alone mode it is, we find that they're successful, and they're often able to fulfill the commitment that they make. So our biggest spring promotion is called the Commuter Challenge. We do that from April through the end of June, and that's just committing to any non-drive alone mode at least one day in that period. In June, we have Bike to Work Week, where we partner with companies, and it's a way to encourage commuters to try that first bike to work. Carpool to Work Month is held in the fall. And then this year we tried a new try-it campaign called Try Transit to Win. So it's happening right now through the end of November, and we've been out at employer sites and various locations to encourage people to give transit a try, whether it's bus or train. We give them that itinerary and a couple free ride passes and the encouragement, and we throw some prizes in there as well that they can then put in a drawing for. We have posters and postcards for our Try Transit campaign at our table if you want to take any of those with you back to your work sites today. We have several recommendations for employers for you to encourage your workforce to drive alone less and try a sustainable mode more often. So I'm going to go through some of these. We have nearly 400 companies in the Twin Cities that participate in the MetroPass program. This is the best, most deeply discounted bus pass that is available to commuters in the Twin Cities, and it's only available if your employer participates, and we have nearly 400 companies participating. Several companies have told commuter services that MetroPass helps them recruit and retain employees. It's a great program, and our staff will help you enroll in the program and be your ongoing contact to promote it to employees. And you need just 5 transit riders to get started. So we can help you with that. And there is a brochure in your packet today as well. So employees can pay for their MetroPass in various ways. By pre-tax, it's a payroll deduction. We help you set that up so they're saving not just by getting the unlimited ride MetroPass, but they can pay for it pre-tax. They enroll once, they don't think about it, and it gets taken out of their paycheck pre-tax, so they save even more. Several employers provide a subsidy to their employees who participate in MetroPass, and the average company in the Twin Cities subsidizes half the cost of the transit pass. Or it can be a combination, so employers can subsidize a portion of the cost of the pass, and the rest then is paid by the employee via pre-tax dollars. And Best Buy, for instance, they provide MetroPass, and they subsidize the entire cost. So it is for employees who are taking the bus and train to work here at Best Buy on a regular basis, they have a free way to get to work, which is awesome. There is an app that is really useful. The Metro Transit app is available for Android and iPhone. You can buy tickets, so you don't have to have a go-to card. You don't have to have cash. You can just on-demand buy tickets for local bus service, for the trains, and for North Star. You can also plan your trips. You can get customized trip planning information, get real-time next trip information. There's also a newer feature through this app called Text for Safety. So for commuters who are on transit and they are not feeling comfortable to make a phone call and call Metro Transit Police, they can more discreetly text a number and alert them of a situation on the bus or train. So that's a really nice newer feature as part of the Metro Transit app. So Commuter Services manages preferential carpool parking and van pool parking for several employers, and we are happy to explore that as an option for you if that's something you're interested in. We manage the program. We provide the actual signs. You just need a post. And employers will receive a monthly report on the number of carpoolers, van poolers that are registered through us. So we handle the registrations, the applications. We make sure that the applications make sense, that it's a viable commute. And then we provide each carpool with a hang tag that they display in their rear view mirror on their dashboard so that your company can make sure that your employees are using those preferential spaces appropriately. And they are preferential, so we recommend that it's right by a visitor entrance closest to an employee entrance. Especially in the winter, it's a coveted benefit. The Metro Van Pool program is subsidized by the Met Council. They provide up to 55% of the monthly lease, and then the rider split the remaining cost. It really is sort of a more formal program, similar to carpooling, but no one is using their personal vehicle. A vehicle is provided by Enterprise, and they have a table here with us today. It's ideal for longer commutes, at least 11 miles one way, and it can't compete with fixed route transit service. So, but a lot of the suburb to suburb commutes that so many people are taking now, this is a great option for them. You just need 5 people to start a van pool, and Commuter Services staff helps you form a group, can give you information and get you started. And you just need 5 people riding in the van 3 days a week, so it can be flexible. It does not have to be where everyone is riding in the van every day. Enterprise has new minivans and crossover vehicles. The lease agreement is between the primary driver and Enterprise, and the volunteer driver keeps the van for personal use. So some van poolers have gotten rid of their second family car because they made it work with one family car and being able to use a Metro Van Pool van. The lease includes everything needed to run the van, repairs. There's a $1 million liability insurance on each van pool, and there's also roadside assistance. It is a flexible program. You don't have to make a long-term commitment. Van poolers can leave with 30 days notice. And again, we have Enterprise here if you want to speak with them after. We have a wealth of bicycle community resources for employers as well. We can provide a free outdoor bicycle rack. It's pictured right there. It holds 6 bikes. And we also facilitate bike transportation lunch and learns. We bring in an expert who talks about, really for the novice biker, someone who hasn't tried biking to work, what do you need to know, what kind of gear do you need, how to ride in traffic, doing a dress rehearsal, preparation. It's a really good comprehensive lunch and learn, and we facilitate that at your work site. We also facilitate bringing in various bike shops who will do little mobile safety checks. So they bring in their truck and they can do repairs on your employees' bikes. Just simple safety checks for brakes and drivetrain and tires and such. That's the on-site bike tune-up events. And then we can provide assistance with your Bike to Work Day celebration. So we encourage, whether it's during May for the National Bike to Work Month or during our June week, we can provide encouragement and resources to help you plan a great Bike to Work Day. There are 69 bicycle-friendly businesses in Minnesota. This is a League of American Bicyclists program, and we have a application deadline coming up very soon. We can help you get connected with the application and get you on the list for being the 70th bicycle-friendly business in Minnesota. And then Melissa's going to come up and finish this piece. Thank you.
Hello again. Well, looking at the clock, we're running up on our time for staying on track to make sure that we give proper recognition to our employers and champions and commuters. So we're going to skip through the slides that we have here on what's in it for your company. Why should you participate and offer commuting programs, which is an important message, but we want to make sure that you are able to hear the rest of the program. One of the slides, though, that I don't want to skip over is to call attention to the free resources that we provide to employers for helping establish or expand and formalize a telework program. And so our office, our staff can provide employers with sample telework policies that the employer can further customize, as well as giving implementation guidance and consulting on best practices, case studies of how it's been implemented in a similar type organization in your industry. Would you rather have your employees arrive to work looking stressed or happy and invigorated like the bicycle commuters? So it's my pleasure to introduce David Van Haddam. He was the founder of Commuter Services 18 years ago, and you left big shoes to fill when you moved on to Transit for Livable Communities. But we're so fortunate that you've had time available to work with us to help us get to know the important tax changes that occurred in December of 2017 that impact transit and transportation fringe benefits. And so Dave has prepared some slides and then additional content that we can give you at our table or after the program. But it's my pleasure to introduce you, Dave. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks to Melissa, 494 staff, 494 Corridor Commission board members and Commuter Services staff. It's really a pleasure to return to this work and to see it continuing so successfully. So my job is to talk quite briefly about the tax changes. I'm going to use very, very few tax terms. If you want those, they're in the detailed PowerPoint at our table, and you can also check off in the packet to get updates, because some of the things we'll talk about may change. So the first piece to understand is the transportation fringe benefit. Kate touched on this, but employers can do this for 3 different modes: transit, van pooling, and bicycle. They can also do it for parking, and they can do it as a subsidy. In that case, it's tax-free, or they can do it as a salary reduction. In that case, it's pre-tax. But the changes that occurred last December with passage of the federal tax bill, there's really 3 things that I want you all to know today, depending on the type of company you are and the type of commute benefit you have. So number 1, if you are a for-profit company, you can still do the pre-tax, you can still do the subsidy, you just can't claim those expenses as a business deduction. If you're a if you're a nonprofit, and this is really the biggest change, they will now pay a 21% tax called the unrelated business taxable income tax on those expenses, on transportation fringe benefits. And then unfortunately, the bike commuters that can receive up to a $20 per month reimbursement for their expenses, that now will have to be taxable income. So with all of that, I can run through these slides quite quickly. As others have said, many employers in the region take advantage of these programs. Just to emphasize, if your employer is just doing the pre-tax, if the company's just letting them do pre-tax, they're saving about 25%. The employer also saves on the FICA tax. This was just a summary of what the case was in 2017. Here's the reference to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of December 2017. So if you're a corporation, you saw your corporate tax rate drop from 35 to 21%. So we would certainly hope that you're able to keep any type of transportation benefit in place. I think I covered all that. One note here that's kind of interest, again, for the nonprofits is that this law says that they will have to figure out the value of free parking and pay that 21% tax on that. So again, the nonprofits are the ones who probably have the most concern with these changes. As I said, the bicycle reimbursement now must be taxable. This reference to IRS Publication 15B is just to be super clear. In 2018 guidance from IRS, pre-tax, tax-free transportation benefits continue on. Just remember to not claim that business deduction if you're a for-profit. So to summarize, as you all know, these kind of benefits are really a smart move. You know how much your employees appreciate these benefits. We know the stories, you've heard them today, and just keep on keeping on with what you've been doing. The tax piece, and just a disclaimer, no tax advice today from Commuter Services, but the Treasury Department does expect compliance this tax year, 2018, on these changes. Final note, as we know the day after elections, things can change. Our national association, the Association for Commuter Transportation, has bills in place and has been advocating to pull that new tax on nonprofits. They're also pushing for some administrative relief because a lot of these changes don't have all the guidance that you might expect with significant changes. So again, if you want more detail, check off the second sheet in our packet, and we'll provide you with updates. We have this specific language from the federal bill over at the table. So that's it for me. Thank you.